Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore.
It is Monday, and all of our guests today are sponsored by Basant Motors, your trusted pre-owned car dealer for nearly 30 years. Check them out online at BasantMotors.com and follow them on Twitter at Basant Motors. Jordan in Vancouver texting into the Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. Would Shaw replace Baumgartner and run the D? Brad Shaw, former defenseman, handled the D in Columbus and other places as well. Yeah. I'm not sure. And everybody seems to love the job Nolan Baumgartner has done, so I don't know what that would mean for him, but that's just a thought.
That's $1 million question, and is if you bring in another assistant, what's
his role?
What's his role, and where do the current guys go? So, don't forget the farm team's only 45 minutes away now, too, right?
Yeah. There could be a job for people. Obviously, there'll be a job for people there. Do you know what's happening with Trent Cull?
Not yet, no.
Okay, so Canada wins gold over in Latvia at the World Hockey Championships after starting the tournament 0-3. Here to talk about it is a man who was over in Latvia covering the event, our Dave Tomlinson. How are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent. How are you guys?
Very well. So when we get back to being able to travel, what can you tell people about visiting the country of Latvia?
Well, it's a very clean city. There's some beautiful monuments. They like to celebrate their freedom of their history. And there's an old town there that is just beautiful. Obviously, brick stone streets and old buildings. And the city, Riga, was in the midst of its opening up phase. So there was outdoor dining on patios, nothing indoor. We were staying right near a very large and well-known park. And so, each day we would kind of wander through there for some fresh air. I'd go back for sure when things are open to be able to see more. We actually, on the last day, got in to see a soccer game. The Baltic Cup is one of the oldest, soccer tournaments, and it's now a UEFA tournament, and we saw Latvia play against Lithuania, and again, there was no crowd. It was just press people. We were in on press passes, and so that was an enjoyment as well, but just fond memories of Latvia, and I did a Instagram account, Hockey Dave in Latvia, so anybody who wants to follow along with some of the pictures and sights and sounds of the World Championship, you can do that on my Instagram.
Yeah, and there's pictures on your Twitter account as well, Dave. Any chance, Dave, any chance at all that you saw Canadian gold medal coming when they started out 0-3?
3% chance. No, honestly, there was the situation for this tournament. Canada obviously was in Group B. Myself and Dennis Bayak were calling all the Group A games. I got all the rosters from all the teams. And so I didn't have to know Canada intimately because I wouldn't be calling any of their games. That would be Gord Miller and Mike Johnson. So I read through the roster because MJ had some travel issues getting to Latvia, and I would have had to have called the first game of Canada-Latvia. So, I was going through the roster, and again, I'm having to do a lot of backstory work to find out most of these players, because typically you have some players that come over from the NHL that you know everything about them. So it was a roster that Canadians over here probably would have to do a little bit of homework to get to know. And then you always know the first game against the home team is going to be tough. But with no crowd, you figure that equals off. And Canada loses to Latvia, then they lose to the United States, who had a very fast team. And all of a sudden, they lose to Germany, and this 0-3 start, and you wonder if they'll actually win a game. I mean, that's the next thought you have. Italy was in there, Kazakhstan, who played really well. Norway, you figure they're going to beat those teams. But now they open up the possibility that other teams can also beat Canada. And they were playing Norway in their fourth game. It was a 2-2 hockey game halfway through, because as I'm calling our games with Dennis, I'm looking at the Canada score, and you're thinking, oh, my goodness, this can't be happening. We've already seen Denmark beat Sweden on our side, and Mangiapane got a goal to make it 3-2. That stood up as a game winner, and he single-handedly changed the course of that Canada team, Andrew Mangiapane, when he was in quarantine watching his team lose 3 games, and then was able to play in that fourth game, get the game winner, and go on from there. So it's one of the most unlikeliest gold medals that Canada has put together at the international scene.
So talk about that some more, because he ends up winning MVP of the tournament. Just the difference that Mangiapane made, and how much respect you have for him as a hockey player.
I've always enjoyed watching him play, and I'll go back to when I was doing the color for the Canucks, and they had their prospects tournament, and they've had higher draft picks and bigger names, the Calgary Flames. But he, for me, was always a guy that was around the puck. He had good skill. He had good numbers in other leagues going before he turned pro. And to hear that he and Dubé were going to go over, Dylan Dubé, and play for Canada, I thought, okay, there's an influx of talent and speed. Dylan Dubé gets a concussion, isn't able to go. Mangiapane fulfills his commitment. And what he did is, for a team that wasn't able to score, they gave him a bona fide line. So Connor Brown and Adam Henrique and Mangiapane, those guys were really, really good when they played together. And it just seemed like Canada that could therefore at least put a line out there that could get them some offense, because every team has a line. And then it's how much do they have after that. And for Canada then to meet Finland in their final game, they needed the full points to be guaranteed a spot. They lose in the shootout. And all of a sudden they're counting on Germany and Latvia not to tie. And if Germany and Latvia tied, they both would have been in. And you could almost think that maybe there would be a gentleman's agreement between those two teams that they would tie, so they would both be in and boot Canada out. And that was a one-goal game that Latvia couldn't, score in the final minute to put it to overtime. So Canada gets in through the back door, and then they just play some scrappy hockey, and Darcy Kemper was at his best when he needed to be. And Mangiapane, 4 game-winning goals in the 7 games, that tells you the importance of him to that roster.
Someone else that was very important to the Canadian roster, Dave, was Troy Stetcher. High-end character, played lots of ice times, but I think he led everyone in ice time in the gold medal game. How impressed were you with Troy in this tournament?
Well, I would say I was impressed with his attitude first, because he went there and flushed the mentality of, I'm a depth defenseman and all I need to do is defend. And I think the problem in Vancouver for him started that way, where he was either told or convinced himself that if all he does is play defense, he'll be fine. And I think there is a little bit more offensive flair there. His shot is never going to break, a pane of glass, but there's something about getting your shot through at the right time. And so, pigeonholed as a defensive guy who's undersized, who's going to work really hard. There's other players around the league, defensemen, that carry those titles as well and still can put up offense. And it just never happened for Troy over here. And then once you got to Detroit, I've been through it yourself. Your first trade really sets you back. And you look at it from a negative standpoint is, oh, this team didn't want me anymore. But when you then flip it to, hey, this team did want me, and you see that part of things, I think the light bulb went off for him with Detroit. And I think that when he got to representing Canada again, he realized, I'm as good offensively as anybody else here. I'm going to be joining the rush. I am going to be making, that may be a risky pass, but I can do it. I know I can. And so I was impressed with just his mindset coming in, and then how he obviously played, contributing to Canada going to goal.
Another person that impressed me, 18-year-old Owen Power, clearly looks like he's going to go first overall in the NHL draft next month. What did you think of him, Dave?
I'm just so impressed with hockey players, younger hockey players that play amongst men and can fit right in. And a lot of it is just having some cool nerves. And Owen Power, he's got the size. He certainly can skate. There's a couple of mistakes that crept into his game, but the Canada coaching staff allowed him to play to his strengths and to do what he does best, which is skate with the puck and be a part of things and take calculated offensive risks, and knowing he'd get back. And so for a youngster to be able to take as many minutes as he did early in the tournament and then be a regular in a gold medal game, that just speaks volumes of the type of hockey player that he's going to be.
Okay, Dave, let's switch gears just before we let you go. This is the first time we've talked to you since the Canucks made their decision at the management level and coaching level. Are you surprised the Canucks are bringing back both Jim Benning and Travis Green?
Not necessarily. I think it's more financial than anything else. The Acolites, I'm sure, don't want to pay both of those, well, at least Jim Benning, not to be running the club. And so in seeing this past season as maybe a year in which things were different and you could play that card, but it's now played. And so Jim Benning is known as a talented evaluator, as a scout. I think his ability to negotiate contracts can come under scrutiny. Now he's got a draft. He's got a top 10 pick, and he's got to do some things salary cap wise to add to this team and get more, get players that are more difficult to play against. And Travis Green, I think, has survived this season, and I think that the team will be better than what they showed this year, but they're going to need some pieces that are going to take some steps. Elias Pettersson, you think, is going to come back and slide right in. I'm not as bullish on Podkolzin as I think everybody else is, only because I think the bar has been set so high because of Höglander and Pettersson being guys that have stepped right in and played at the NHL level like they played at other club team levels. And I think Podkolzin's going to need just a little bit more of a runway to get to be a regular contributor. But he's got a body that could play in the NHL. He was incidentally in the hotel that we were in because Russia brought a full extra complement of players that were there to practice that they probably knew they weren't going to register, but just wanted them to be around. So, saw him pretty much every day, and, he got his ice time in with the rest of the guys who didn't get registered. But it would have been nice for him if he had gotten onto that team. One of the youngsters who took a spot was Dmitry Voronkov, a Columbus Blue Jacket, who plays the same style. And so it's up to Podkolzin there to just keep proving that he can improve as a skater, improve offensively, but first and foremost, continue to dig for the puck.
Dave, thanks for this. Long time no talk to. Good to have you back. Appreciate it.
Thank you, fellas. Anytime you need me, just get in touch. I got a pretty wide open schedule.
We will. Thanks, Dave.
Excellent. Enjoy your day.